This is the final episode of the Promethea saga, and although it was a saga with little drama, it is the one that opens the way to the best Power Rangers saga of all time. The next saga is going to be the Shattered Grid, and in this last episode of Promethea we get to see how it all started. Finally, Rita arrives at her palace on the moon, but she realizes that everything has been destroyed by the Dragonzord. Despite all this destruction, Rita and her lackeys think it's not so bad, so she starts using her magic to rebuild everything. Rita has managed to make the palace look excellent, and best of all, she has her throne ready. Her lackeys quickly think that the next step is to plan a new attack, but she tells them not yet. The first task Rita wants to accomplish is to find Finster, but we all know he's in the pocket dimension of the Rangers Command Center, and it's going to be impossible to get him out of there. In New York, the Rangers are fighting a new monster that Finster had built to transform from his human form to an animal-like monster. This time we can see that this monster looks like a giant sheep and has certain artifacts all over its body that seem to emit a rather loud sound. After the Rangers have defeated so many monsters, they are now starting to make jokes about the identity of this particular monster. They also want to give it a name, but Billy suggests that they should ask the monster since they almost always already have a name. This giant sheep is focused on broadcasting a message, and this message is to tell people about the reality of human conspiracies. At all times he is always repeating that they should listen to Sheeple's message, which is obviously his name. Because the Rangers want to stop this monster, the giant sheep gets angry because they think he will not be allowed to broadcast his message and attacks the Rangers with a lot of wool coming out of his body. The Rangers don't understand what is going on, since obviously wool is not something that can hurt you, but what they didn't know was that this wool turns into little monster sheep that are a big army. In Promethea, Grace is overseeing the Battle of New York, and at that moment, another employee arrives to warn her that there is another monster in Vancouver. The problem with this new monster is that it has not yet transformed, and the satellites cannot pinpoint its specific location, but they manage to find an approximate location. Grace decides not to tell the Rangers anything for now since they are still in the battle in New York, so the Promethea team is going to try to take care of the Vancouver situation until the Rangers are done with the giant sheep. In the meantime, the Rangers are trying to destroy all these new little monsters, but it is a very complicated situation as the giant sheep continues to create more wool. This giant sheep uses his loud voice to order his little wool monsters to do what he wants. After trying to attack people, the monster now decides that all the wool should come back to him, and in this way, he manages to catch some people. The Rangers no longer know how to resolve this situation, as they basically have to destroy an entire army, and this is very complicated. Billy quickly uses his intelligence to come up with a plan, but doesn't give the Rangers much information and proceeds to call his Zord. Billy asks the Rangers to keep helping people so they can give him some time, but Jason asks him to explain the plan so they can help him better, so Billy proceeds to explain. The Blue Ranger had realized that this giant sheep uses his voice to give orders to his army, so Billy configured the Zord's audio so that when he spoke into the microphone, his voice would sound the same as the monster's voice. In this way, Billy gets the army to follow his orders, and the first thing he asks them to do is to free the people. The giant sheep can't believe what is happening, so he starts trying to stop the little monsters, but it doesn't work. After this, Billy orders the little monsters to attack him, but because he is using the voice of the giant sheep, the army attacks the monster. Billy manages to destroy the monster and at the same time destroys the army. The Rangers begin to celebrate, but quickly hear the voice of Zordon, who warns them that there is a situation developing in Vancouver and they must go now. When the Rangers arrive in Vancouver, they find that there are many police and Promethea people who have paralyzed the entire area. The people in this place are not allowed to leave on orders by the local police and basically also on orders from Grace. She had quarantined all these people with the help of the local government to scan each person and try to find the monster. Obviously, the Rangers are against all of this since Grace is holding these people against their will, but Grace defends herself by saying that this is what is necessary. After that, Jason asks Billy if he can upgrade Promethea's scanner technology to amplify the signal, but the Blue Ranger says that in order to accomplish this he must go to Promethea's. Grace gives Billy permission to enter Promethea and Trini decides to accompany him. Jason tries to make it clear to Grace that this cannot happen again, but she tells him that they must discuss all that later. In the meantime, they must take the scanners in order to end this situation quickly. In the pocket dimension of the command center, Finster begins to hear a voice and realizes it is Rita's voice. She was communicating with Finster through her magic and tells him that he has decided to waste his time playing games, but then asks him to come over right away. Even though we thought Finster had no way out of that place, he had a trick in store and used his glasses to create a portal to escape. At Promethea, Billy managed to build a better scanner and asks Trini to take him to Vancouver, but he is going to stay to build an additional scanner. After Trini leaves, Andrea starts talking to Billy, but she doesn't know his identity. She tries to find out who the Blue Ranger is and thinks that they possibly already knew each other. Within all that conversation, Billy mentions that he had noticed that a part of Promethea was consuming more energy than the other areas and he would like to know why they need so much energy in that part. Andrea just tells him that those are just corporate secrets and that even she doesn't know everything about Promethea. In Vancouver, the Rangers are still talking about everything Grace has done, and Tommy thinks that if she did this, then she is capable of doing anything. While the Rangers are talking, we can see that Billy is walking silently through the halls of Promethea and apparently, he wants to find out what is in that other part that is using so much energy. At the entrance of that place there are two guards who are guarding the door, and they tell Billy that even he doesn't have the authority to pass to that confidential place. Billy apologizes and walks away from the place, but in reality, he was only hiding and then teleporting into the secret place. He quickly hears a very familiar voice telling him that this is an excellent way to get through a door, and then Billy realizes that this voice is Lord Drakkon.